So I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was this thing going about on Reddit, or I guess it was just on Twitter, and it was an old Reddit thread. And it was super crazy. I'm gonna read to you. It was sort of a multi-part thing. So basically,
Ooh, story time with CoRri.
a little, yeah.
Catherine.
So this was posted to r/legal advice on Reddit. This guy writes, on the 15th of April, I found a yellow Post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state, I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another Post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house aimed at my desk and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another Post-it note, this one saying, our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do. I immediately checked the webcams folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I am certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to a folder on my desktop called webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another Post-it note, this time on the outside of my door with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be Post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the Post-its, but those are written by my pen and on my Post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble if they can't determine any outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord, those also living in the complex? So...
What?
Yeah.
So this sounds like someone trying to make a creepypasta on our legal advice.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, though, the way that he's phrasing this, he's not writing it as a creepypasta. He's just genuinely like, what is happening here? Like, there's no part of him that's like, there's a ghost in my house or anything like that.
That's what makes some of the best creepypastas, though, is when they're just like playing it straight.
Yeah, that's very true. And in like subsequent comments, like he had said that like he thought it might be the landlord, because obviously who has access to your apartment, right? Like who can come in and like screw with you that way? And so he starts thinking like, oh my God, it's the landlord. And like, what legal recourse do I have against this landlord?
Sure.
So people comment on this, trying to figure out, answering it because it's legal advice. They're talking about legally what recourse do you have to this. But another poster comments to him and says, you seem sincere, and this doesn't appear to be the plot of a Ray Bradbury short story. It's possible that your landlord is leaving notes inside your apartment, but they don't make any sense in the context you're describing them. It's likely that you are writing the notes yourself, but you're forgetting. Do you use Post-it notes as reminders in any other parts of your life? Yes, this might be a mental health issue. You might be experiencing some sort of dissociative disorder, or it might be a physical problem. You mentioned that you have a very unusual narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you're not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, or that there is a carbon monoxide leak in the building? A cheap CO detector, which you should have anyway, is a fast way to find out. You'll also have really bad headaches. And so he then, goes on. He's like, listen, your own medical history, but, don't feel ashamed if you need to talk to someone about what's going on here. Yeah. So this poster takes this to heart, posts an update on another thread later on and says, hey, thanks to everyone who sent suggestions and gave advice on how to proceed, especially those who recommended a CO detector, because when I plugged one in the bedroom, it read at 100 parts per million.
Shut up.
Now, you can see right behind me, I have a carbon monoxide detector right there.
Yeah.
With a big old 0 on it. That's the number it's supposed to be.
Sure.
Let me put this in context for you. According to the U.S. Product Safety Commission, if carbon monoxide levels increase and remain above 70 parts per million, initial symptoms can include headache, fatigue, shortness of breath, nausea, and dizziness. Higher levels can result in mental confusion, vomiting, and loss of muscular coordination. At sustained carbon monoxide concentrations above 150 to 200 points per million, disorientation, unconsciousness, and death are possible. So this guy is well above the 70 mark and has just been, just a smidge, and has just been sitting here.
Make of that what you will.
Writing himself these Post-it notes and driving himself crazy.
Hell.
Here's one of my favorite details of this too, and I will go on with this in a second, but one of my favorite details, the camera, right, where he was talking about that he was, he had this on and it was saving to this folder.
Yeah.
He had never actually installed this camera. He just put a camera up, put a folder on his desktop, wrote webcam on it, and thought that someone was clearing them out and clearing his recycle bin every day. Which
that is fantastic.
It's kind of delightful. You're like, okay, it's kind of brain damage from the CO2.
Carbon
but
monoxide. Yeah. Haze.
But of course, it doesn't have to be sustained like he was dealing with. So this was happening over a long period of time. And some people in the thread they talked about another thread, which I couldn't find, unfortunately, but where another person had posted about trying to get rid of ants. And they were like, oh, I have all these ants in my house and I've done all these different things to get rid of these ants, but the ants just won't go away. And it turned out like someone again in the comments was like, have you tested your CO in your house? And they did, and it turned out he was hallucinating the ants.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. Right. So like over a long period of time, if it's like a lower level, but obviously a non-zero number, it can cause these like hallucinations and stuff like that.
It feels like step one is always, are you sure there are bugs? That's step one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just in general, are you sure there are bugs is a really good start. But like I said, it doesn't have to be like sustained like that. It can be sudden if you have a super high level of carbon monoxide all at once. So generators in residential spaces tend to be like the primary culprit for this. And famously, Weird Al's parents died that way. They were killed by carbon monoxide and it was sudden. So like they both died same time over the course of that night. Although I'm not sure if that's scarier though, like the idea that people like die suddenly, or the fact that like otherwise
it can slowly drive you mad.
Right. And it like it essentially presents as like flu
gives you
symptoms.
Like a multi-million selling record career.
Or that. Hadn't thought about it that way. But or it's like it basically presents as flu-like symptoms essentially. So you go to the doctor and they like treat you for the flu and then you die after hallucinations from carbon monoxide. So not great. However, there is a slightly less horrifying side effect of carbon monoxide poisoning. And there's one case that is often cited when people talk about it. So in 1921, a woman dubbed Mrs. H described strange goings-on in her home. She said, quote, "One morning I heard footsteps in the room over my head. I hurried up the stairs. To my surprise, the room was empty. I passed into the next and then into all the rooms on that floor and the floor above to find that I was the only person in that part of the house. Sometimes after I've gone to bed, the noises from the storeroom are tremendous, as if furniture was being piled against the door and china was being moved about, and occasionally a long and fearful sigh or wail. Sometimes as I walk along the hall, I feel as if someone was following me, going to touch me. You cannot understand it if you've not experienced it, but it's real. As I was dressing for breakfast one morning, B, who was 4 years old, came to my room and asked me why I'd called him. I told him I'd not called him, that I'd not been in his room. With big and startled eyes, he said, "Who was it then that called me? Who made that pounding noise?" Which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
If that happened as detailed in that account, then that I could see how that would be unnerving.
Can you imagine one of your kids coming in and saying that to you, like just dead serious? Like
kids say spooky shit constantly.
They do. Kids are creepy.
They really do.
Don't get me wrong. And I was an especially creepy kid, so I get it.
I know, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. You experienced it. I was a weirdo.
Yeah.
So she says, I told him it was undoubtedly the wind rattling his window. No, he said it was not that. It was somebody that called me. Who was it? And so on he talked, insisting that he'd been called and for me to explain who it had been. The whole family experienced these hauntings, rattling beds, lethargy, and temporary paralysis. And even the plants around the house would wither and die, which is an interesting detail to me. So she went on to say, some nights after I've been in bed for a while, I felt as if the bedclothes were jerked off me, and I've also felt as if I'd been struck on the shoulder. One night I woke up and saw someone sitting on the foot of my bed, a man and a woman. The woman was young, dark, and slight, and wore a large picture hat. I was paralyzed and could not move.
Well, that's just good old-fashioned sleep paralysis. We've all had
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
like
a pile
that's...
of laundry turns into a goblin. You know
Oh
what I mean?
God, yeah.
When
yeah.
like, you know, your TV or whatever
Yeah.
turns into a fucking.
You try to scream, but no air will come out of your lungs. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I've talked about before that my like biggest fear in the world is that I can't scream.
Mhm.
I have like this like huge phobia of not being able to scream, and that's like a constant thing in my dreams, which also I mean, I don't scream per se, but my husband assures me I can definitely make noises because I am constantly while I'm sleeping like making super weird little screams like But anyway, Mrs. H is telling everyone she knows about this naturally, like, you know, what do you guys think is going on in my haunted house? And after telling her brother-in-law, keep in mind it's 1921, right? He was like, you know, I've heard of folks having similar experiences after being poisoned by combustion gases. Turns out he was right. Carbon monoxide poisoning.
It's always gas.
It's always gas.
Yeah.
In 2016, investigative journalist CoRri Poppy also discussed a similar paranormal experience in her TEDx talk. She said she had agonizing chest pains and a constant sense of dread. So Mark, have you checked your CO in your house? Despite
it's funny because it's true.
Despite seeing psychiatrists, calling ghost hunters, and trying cleansing rituals, she was still afflicted by the supernatural. Turns out she'd inhaled a shit ton of carbon monoxide to the point,
like you do.
Yeah, to the point that if it had taken her any longer to figure it out, she would have been straight up worm food. She was just like this close to death before finally someone was like, it might be carbon monoxide.
It's the gas.
It's the gas. This has been like, so like the past week or so or whatever, I've been like having headaches and having like little visual hallucinations here and there and whatnot. And I swear to God, like at like 3 a.m., I like out of nervousness ordered more carbon monoxide detectors because I'd been thinking about this Reddit thread. I was like, oh my God, it's like carbon
can't
monoxide.
Be a bad thing. That can't, you know.
That's. And then thankfully I used the wrong credit card. So when I woke up in the morning, it was like payment didn't get through. And I'm like, good, I didn't just buy $80 worth of carbon monoxide detectors when we have some in our house that work just fine.
To be fair, it's probably better to have too many as opposed to too few.
It's a really good point.
Agreed.
Some of us, you know, smoke up the house at least once a week when they're cooking, so they unplug their carbon monoxide detectors and don't always remember to put them back in on purpose.
Accidentally do this.
On the topic of sleep paralysis, right?
Yeah.
Am I right to not believe in lucid dreaming? I don't believe that. I don't really believe that.
Like, as in, you can control your dreams while you're.
Yeah, and I know there are people who claim to be practitioners of this and that it can be learned and that can be taught, but I've chosen that I don't believe that.
I mean, you don't have that app. I mean, that happens to me when I'm near waking up, that I can make all the choices and everything in my dream for myself.
Yeah, I definitely am able to make choices in dreams pretty frequently.
Fair enough. Just me.
It's not something that I like engage in. It's just something that I have.
You didn't have to go to a retreat or something to learn it. You didn't have to study.
No, I just have to take a stronger than usual dose of melatonin usually.
Okay. Okay. Just me then.
Yep.
Sorry, this has to happen like once every podcast that my Wi-Fi is like, nah.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're good here. So I had said that this happens when I when I'm just waking up or whatever, that's where I lost the connection. So what did anyone
Yeah,
say
Duncan
after
claims Duncan claims that upping melatonin dosages can induce lucid dreaming. I thought it was something. I mean,
I wasn't
I don't
saying
know,
it could induce lucid dreaming. I'm just saying that I tend to have stronger dreams where I have
Okay,
more control
okay.
when I take a larger dose of melatonin at night.
Mark, I feel like you just like, you have like less dreams, or like, I don't know, you dream weird to me. Because like,
Well,
this is not the first time that you've been confused by
yeah, that's
like
true.
the
I know
way
we
people
spoke
dream.
about COVID nightmares a lot,
Mhm.
didn't we? COVID nightmare syndrome.
Yeah.
Something that woke me up a little bit. In fact, to I don't believe in anything. My default position is I don't really believe in that. And
Right.
I'd seen in lots of places on the radio and news, whatever, that everywhere across the globe, by and large, people during lockdown, during the pandemic, when it was really in the thick of it, when everything was weird as fuck, and nobody'd really got a handle on what was going on yet, the severity and frequency and recountability, seemingly, of nightmares was recorded as being, way more prevalent across the globe. And obviously my instinct would be, is it really? Until yep, turns out it was. For a good old chunk of time in the middle of that of last year, nary a morning would pass when I wasn't kind of shuddered awake from something. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I also started having COVID specific nightmares where I was like out in public and I forgot my mask. It's like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah. I think I've had like a few that were actually COVID specific, but mine were always like just heightened anxiety dreams more than anything else. They didn't necessarily relate specifically to the pandemic. It was just like really during that initial, like probably like a month into lockdown or whatever, where it was like really up in the air and everything. It was just constant, extremely vivid, extremely memorable dreams every single day, just waking up being like, yes, I remember every element of whatever weird anxiety dream that I had last night.
My most frequent nightmares right now are when I'm dieting, and then I'll just have sugar nightmares where I just like house a cheesecake or something and completely ruin the diet that I'm on.
See, that's interesting to me. Like, I think I love talking about like the weirdness of people's dreams and whatnot, because mine aren't usually like that directly related. Like I can see what like that usually there's a stress theme. But I'm like, it's not the exact thing that I'm stressed out about, but it has the same effect on me, the thing that's stressing out. Or I just dream out like monsters or something like that.
Yeah, right.
It's completely unrelated.
Classic.
But like there's like a connection between, I'm like, yeah, I'm really stressed out about this thing I have due. So I have a dream about something else that's a deadline or like something like that, But yeah, I feel like, Mark, you're usually like skeptical of people's dream things because you don't dream like other people do.
I don't know about that. I think it's more akin to I don't particularly believe what other people do. Most stuff that people claim
you just think everyone's lying all the time.
I just don't tend to believe it. There's a lot that I find difficult to countenance,
Fair enough.
And it's fine. It's fine. I'm not bemoaning the fact, and it's fine. But as they come up, as we go along, I'll happily tell you whether or not something passes my filter of stuff that is exactly that. Yeah, stuff that is credible to me.
Me, a white man, will tell you this is credible.
Can I make this fit? Yes, I can. Okay, fine. Move along.
Yeah, well, all that to say, guys, after that, if you think you have ghosts and your houseplants are wilting, you might want to check your carbon monoxide detectors.
The gas.
Might be the gas. And if it's not the gas, do something about those ghosts.
Then call me. I'm a trained exorcist. It's fine.
Hey-o!
There you go. Fantastic.
That's not an Exorcist song, but I can't remember what the Exorcist music sounds like. So,
well, Ghostbusters are exorcists of a sort. It's fine.
Of course they are.